with its nice and twisty sectors. So let's go ahead and look at the map presentation for the first map that the players will be starting off on. And there we go. That will be Eurosky. You'll have noticed at the end there the very long chicane will be in freewheel. So if they make any sort of mistake, they're basically stuck. And the respawn there is not the most in terms of nice, easy, quick respawns. They're gonna lose quite a bit of time. And we'll probably see some pretty decent gaps by the end of the race. Last week we saw, I believe, Mime won Eurosky with a time of I think it was a 7:11, just about 4 or 5 seconds slower than the winning time in the TMGL series, but he would have placed in 3rd, so there's quite a big gap in the TMGL running of that map. But still, these players, even though they're only a part of the 2nd league, can produce quite good, strong paces overall, which is really what you want to see, considering we're going to watch 2 or 3 of them will make it up to the TMGL for the next season. So that's ultimately what they're all fighting for, are those coveted TMGL spots. Anywho, here we are loading into Eurosky step number 2. It's gonna be an absolute banger, I'm sure. We just have 1 minute 30-second warm-up to go, and we will be off on our way. We'll get to see the first little lap here of the players as they're running their warm-up. Last week we saw Nixo falling a little bit behind early in this map. We'll see if he can step up his pace a little bit. This and map number 2 that we'll see are not his strongest, but I feel like he can make up quite a lot of points in the later maps. And we won't want to be able to seeing small mistakes like that, which can be incredibly costly. Name of the game in this jump is actually to go through the chicanes fast enough so that you can retain your down booster. It'll actually just shoot you down towards the ground instead of yeeting you way up in the air. Yeah, exactly. You want to get full suckage. And not run into checkpoints. But anywho, step number 2, map number 1, and we are off. We're going to be following Nixo for the majority of this step. Oh, looks like we're getting a little bit of a restart there. Maybe a late start. Well, Nixo got a late start now. What's up with that? I guess we're probably pausing for somebody. Is anyone not moving? I don't know who's sitting right there. I can't even see the names anymore, which is weird. Probably a caster not in spec. I don't know. Hideo isn't not known for its technical difficulties, although last week went very smoothly. So it's a bit of a surprise that we are not able to run here. And hopefully whenever we are able to resolve our difficulties, I'm able to get the names back up of the players. Because I think it is helpful for viewing purposes to be able to see who is actually in front of who. Because you can see a car is like right down there. But it's quite difficult to observe who passes who that quickly. Unless you have the car skins memorized. And even then, it can be difficult as Razi and Nixo both have the same skin as they're both part of Loud. And then I noticed that Evon is currently running the white special edition Red Bull skin. It was pretty cool. This was a very nice looking skin in the Turkish GP. Anybody watch that? He's got wings, yeah. Would be pretty sick if they rolled with that off on the Red Bull liveries and like added wings to the back, or like a little bit of wing on the wing. Pretty sick. What's going on? You have as much idea as I. Unfortunately, I don't have any sort of communication with directors or anything like that, so I can only commentate on what I can see. And what I can see is Hydra running into this pole and that pole. Oh, he's not gonna. Alright, we're resuming the match, it looks like. Do I have access to the names? Yes, I do. Okay, perfect. We'll be running without names at the very start here. It's a bit chaotic, but we are going into the first step in the first map in the first lap of TMGL, or second step, sorry, of the TMGL Challenger Series. Following around with Nixo in the meaty part of the pack. Not too worried about the current losses. He's only about 0.3 behind. And he takes that incredibly well, actually. Full risk that you can see that he actually gets the suction much better than all of his players, all the other players, and he just shot himself up from like 10th to 3rd. So clearly, suckage is the name of the game. Taking the identity a bit safer, but still able to maintain good position in the top spots. As we go into lap number 2, we see Solja making a little bit of a mistake, dropping down a bit. So now firmly in 5th position with NRG, Z close behind and Snow close in front, although Snow makes a slight tap and he will lose out quite a lot as this section is very fast. Losing any sort of speed will drop you down considerably. Up in the lead we see Hydra actually. Don't see him too often up front, although he is a very solid player all around. Oh, who is that? I believe that was Evon making a mistake. No, it was not Evon. It was Revo has made a mistake through that section. You see Begley absolutely flying to Narnia. Lots of action to be seen as we have 16 players making a journey through a very entertaining map, I'll say. Up at the front, looks like Hydra has lost out to Cap and Wosile, probably with a small mistake, dropping down nearly half a second. He was 0.8 of a second ahead. But Nixo is doing quite well, actually. He hasn't dropped too much time to the leaders. Actually, I say that, and I was spectating completely the wrong person. Nice, good one. He has dropped time, but not too much time, actually. 1.7 seconds back from 8th position. And 8th position is 2.5 seconds back from our leader. Oh, he takes that a bit too much and gets the airtime. Will lose out in a lot of speed, actually. Gets overtaken by Fegley and the lot. Does drop back into 14th position. He's not alone though, as he has Otak for company. Not the best jump either. Pretty rough lap for our dear friend Nixo. He looked to regain his composure through the rest of the map, although I don't know if he's going to be able to catch up to Link or Snow here. We can move ahead to the front of the pack. We see quite a large gap actually between Evon, who's in 4th, and Cap, who's in 3rd. Nearly 2.5 seconds. But the top 3 are super close now. Hydra back up in the lead over Wosile. Cap also in hot pursuit as they go into the first part of these chicanes. Cap looks to take it pretty safe. Isn't able to capitalize on the down booster before the jump and goes very far through the air. Moving up into the top 2 spot. Oh, we see Wosile clipping on one of the holes. He will lose out quite a bit there, although with the gap between the top 3 and 4th position, he only loses a couple spots. Still, that's quite a few points. And he'll be hard pressed to catch Hydra now if Hydra does not make any mistakes whatsoever. We see the top 5 have really sort of spread out here, going into lap number 5. Nearly half a second gap between all the players here. Dofall currently sitting in 6th. Any close fights? We have Link and NRGZ fighting for the coveted 8th position. Difference of 10 points between these two players right here. Whether or not you get a 15 or a 5. Snow is a bit slow off of the chicane. It goes way high in the air. Energy is able to capitalize and overtake him going into the last of the chicanes here. Link taking it very quickly. Wow, look at that. Able to get 2 positions out of that through a nice risky identity. Snow gets a massive no side, but doesn't bonk into the wall. Oh, Link has to release in order to not hit the checkpoint and will drop back down. So this is a very give and take battle for the 7th and 8th positions. Up at the front, seems to still be pretty spaced out. Not too many issues. Going back to Link here, NRGZ takes a very wide line going on the entry of that corner, but is able to capitalize on the exit. That corner is taken without brakes, so they have to release in order to make it around the corner. We'll move up to... Oh, we see Hydra make his completely destroyed his run here. I'm not sure how he managed to do that, but he's dropped all the way down to the 4th position. That will mean that... Oh, yes, Cap will actually secure the 1st position. Wosile was very close. When we see the point totals now, that's a nice little addition. So Cap able to hold off Wosile at the very end. Evon capitalizes on Hydra's mistake and takes third. Hydra has to settle for fourth position. Mime in fifth. Dofalt will take sixth. NRG will take seventh. Razi actually managed to nick both Solja and Snow. Snow all the way dropped down to 15th, so he made an absolute massive blunder. And our Nixo friend was not able to make it into the top 8, unfortunately. And just like that, we're going to be moving on to the next round. In true TMGL fashion, we're going to be going map after map after map. So, going into map number 2, this is Barrel Ridge. There we have it, Barrelistic, where the name of the game is to do barrel rolls. So we'll see 3 separate ones along this map, including the one that I have shown here. Hopefully we'll get a nice cool angle as the players come flying up into this wall ride. Most of it is magnetic landing. So you can see they'll do a flip into the barrel, into the wall ride, and go down into yet another one, a second one actually, which is freewheel, and then they'll stick to this wall and up and over and into the finish. Pretty entertaining looking map. We will see quite a few gaps, as making even one mistake can be very costly. Unfortunately, Nixo did one of those very early on last week, and he was not able to catch up, so we'll see how this week turns out for him. But going straight into it, map number 2 of step 2. This is Barrelistic. Doing the first barrel, Nixo takes it very high and safe. See, he loses out quite a bit of time, but not too much. Just got to get the nerves out a bit early. Settle into some nice, easy laps and times. Already we see a couple mistakes, notably from Cap and NRGC, who have dropped down nearly 5 and 6 seconds respectively. Razi as well, quite far back. Now this is interesting. We do see a couple players going for a alternative line, where they actually take the booster, which is meant for gaining speed off of respawn. Oh no, Nixo doesn't get the flip right. He is able to respawn relatively quickly, but will lose out a bit. Drops down to 14th position. Already pretty far back now though. Not the most ideal situation, but people can make mistakes, and do. We'll take a peek at how the front runners are running at the moment. We see Mime leading Miquatro, Hydra, Snow, and Wosile as we're following, 5th position. See if any of these guys take the alternative booster line. Whoa, what was that? Miquatro, I think, clipped the side of the booster downhill and completely threw himself out. Yes, we do. Okay. Wosile will go for it again as he makes a mistake. But you see, Wosile will take the booster and then jump much farther into the dirt, get a better angle through the section, and if he's able to keep the gear like he did, you can see he carries the speed all the way through both of the barrel rolls and passes 2 players. Assuming he hadn't made that mistake on entry, it would be well worth, but clearly not so much. Drops back into 9th position from that mistake. But like I said, the gaps are quite considerable. We see Fegley doing very well on this map, sitting in 4th, right behind Snow. Overtaking Snow, or Default actually. Well, no, they're both right next to each other. The 2 teammates are right next to each other, so I had to think about if I misread who was in front of who. Both the BS competitions players taking the booster line. Not able to keep the gear though, so they won't gain as much speed as they could have, and actually lose out to Fegley pretty decently. Snow making a bit of a blunder on the landing, has no speed through this freewheel. Default as well actually, so the teammates synchronizing in their mistakes will drop down together. Leading the field is Mime with a 1.3 second lead. Hydra doing very well for himself early in this step, sitting in 2nd. Fegley would love to capitalize on just a top 8 finish actually, as he would already gain more points than he gained last step. Checking in on Nixo here, he's pretty alone currently in 13th. 9.6 seconds back from 8th position, so that'll be pretty hard pressed. At this point I imagine he's really just going to be thinking about the next couple of maps. Gotta clear his head a bit, shake it off and move on to the next one, which is much easier said than done, of course. Right as I was saying that, I noticed that Mime has clocked in a new best time of 106.72. Pretty decent lap. Has worked his way up to a nearly 3-second lead over Hydra. Fegley is also almost a 1.5 seconds back from 2nd, so as it stands, these positions are pretty locked in place. We see a good fight though for the 5th position between Otak, Default, and Razi. Snow is also quite close behind. We'll see first look how the differing lines compare, as Otak was slightly behind Default here, and here comes Default back with his more speed. Looks like overall Default did lose out to Otak, as he went from about a 0.2 lead to a 0.2 deficit. I think that line can be worth, but it's very difficult to make it so. Like, you needed to get it almost spot on. Whether or not that means it's worth to go for it 6 out of 6 laps is questionable, but players are still opting to do it. We see that Fegley has made a bit of a small mistake and allowed Evon to catch him. Sorry. Still, I'm sure he'd be very happy with the 4th position. Going into the last bit of this map here. One final couple of flips for our American friend. And yes, indeed, he will bank in that 4th position. We see Mime getting the 27 total for fastest lap and 1st place. Hydra will take 2nd, Evon will be 3rd, Otak will be 5th, and then Razi, Default, Solja managed to sneak up into 8th spot over Wosile, Snow, Biquatro, Energy, Revo, Nixo, there he is, finishing in 14th, then Link, and finally Cap. They decide to not finish this map after winning the last map. Map number 3 now. This will be On the Edge by Papa Bouette, I believe. Yep. I'll load up the intro here as the players warm up. And there we go. So, the name of this map is very representative of the risk involved with it. On the edge, inferring the numerous edges that you will have to get nice and close to. This being the first part of the identity, as you have to zigzag your way through 3 different little small gaps while in freewheel. The players doing their warm-up, no one makes any mistakes. Once you get the line, I'd say this identity is pretty easy, but it's very easy to also, like any small mistake will lose you so much speed just through the fact that everything is in freewheel. Thoughts on cats and owls? I don't know what that's referring to, but owls are pretty cool. Anywho, we are going into map number 3 here. Falling on with our good friend Nixo early on. I know for a fact that he is more of a fan of this map than the last 2. I think he's quite comfortable with it, so if he's able to kind of reset mentally, I think we're in for a good show here. But again, that can be easier said than done, especially when you've played for as long as these maps can be. And you just have to... It can be hard to get out of a rut, you know? So... But nonetheless, we're closing in on the identity for this first lap. Turn off the names here so we can see the entry. Nixo goes pretty safe, with a bit of a more drift than his competitors, but makes it through, no problem. Just like that, we are in lap number 2. Nixo currently sitting in 12th position, but not too far back from the majority of the pack. We see Default with an early lead over Rozzy and Hydra. Into the U-turn here. This map very technical. A lot of tight tech turns that you need to capitalize exit speed on. So in the past we've seen the more tech-focused players of Quattro and No-Tech performing quite well. But currently, that's not so much the case, as Quattro is in 5th, No-Tech in 10th. Nixo still in a solid 12th. Hasn't made up too much ground, but also hasn't lost anything. So the general pace is very close. Nixo taking that identity very quick, actually. He's able to capitalize on 2 mistakes from Fegley and Evon. Wosao decides to go for the safe route, as he probably made a slight blunder on the last bit of the identity. If we take a look at the front order, as this is very, very tight, we see Hydra is battling out with Mime and Razi for the top position. Default very close behind. Cap sitting in 5th, along with, I believe that is Otak right next to him. Yes, it is. We see Otak through the technical section, very clean, able to gain quite a good space between him and Cap. But this battle for the top 8 positions is incredibly tight. We see almost 5 or 6 players basically on top of each other, which is very cool to see. Going into the identity here, we lose 1. I believe it was Razi, yes. That bumps Nixo up into the 8th position. Nice and steady run from him, currently battling with Snow. Snow doing not as well as I would have thought, banking himself only 5 points in the first couple of maps. But he does tend to be a player that is either up in the order or way down in the order. Back up to the front of the field here. Our group is still very, very tight-knit, and Mime, even though he has the best lap, is not able to gap this group of players. Going into the 4th run of our identity here. Players taking it pretty nice and easy. Mime takes it very slowly. Wosile actually clips and has to take the safe route of the start. Doesn't lose too much time, but will drop him out of the battle for the front. We see Mime with his safer identity loses out to Mikatro and Dopal. Otak falling with him in 5th position. I did mention that Mikatro and Otak would possibly do well on this map as it's more technical, and that is now coming to fruition. Very clean drifts from Otak here. Goes a lot wider on the booster, but it looks to be about the same in terms of time-wise. Quattro and Mime basically inside of each other this entire lap. Going into the 5th version run of the identity. See if anyone... Ooh, yes, we see Default clipping a little bit on the first one that he's going to lose out a huge amount. Yes, indeed, he loses out to Snow and our Nixo fan base. Although Nixo might have clipped on the drop down because he had less speed than I thought he did. So he remains in 8th position. We'll follow along with him for this final lap here. I think right now he'd be pretty happy with 8th position. Not the most ideal, but much better than the 5 and below points that you get for 9th and below. He also has about a 3-second gap over Fegley, who currently sits in 9th, so pretty safe as long as he is able to make the identity. Take a look at the front of the field here just to see our winner. It's a very good battle. This thing has been raging this entire race, which is actually really cool to see. Not too often you see 2 players this close after 7 minutes, but Mime makes a mistake. How much will he lose? He's crawling because of the freewheel. He will drop all the way down into 4th position. Nixo is able to overtake Wosile for the 7th position, so he gains himself an extra point there. Very nice. But Mikatro is able to capitalize on Mime's mistake and takes the 1st spot. Cap will redeem himself after last map's blunder, or not finishing take second. Otak will take third. Mime must suffer for fourth. Dofalt fifth. Snow 6, Nixo 7, and Wosile finishes out the top 8. Looking at the scoreboard here, I imagine Mime might drop. No, he keeps his lead with 64 points. Dofalt in second with 51. Moving on to map number 4, we will have Pole Party. So this will be the first time that the players go from playing a map in rounds mode to playing it in a full 6-lap mode. This is a map that's relatively straightforward despite the chaotic pole section. So I don't think there'll be too many mistakes. But for now, let's get into the map showcase of Pole Party. So there is, it is. This is the last section of poles here. You can see it looks just like an absolute mess, but in reality there's a nice line that takes you through here, up into the freewheel, and around into the finish. So as long as you can stick with that very consistent line, you shouldn't have too many issues. Take a look at Nixo here as the players finish off the map of their warm-up. Nice and easy. So when we were watching in rounds mode, we saw that Nixo wasn't able to have the overall pace to keep up with the top players, but his consistency was very good. He made very little mistakes and was always within grasp if anyone had any major issues. So he'll look to capitalize on that in the laps format of this map. Starting off early, sitting comfortably in the thick of things. Takes a little bit of a wide turn through there. Not the best exit speed. Will lose out just a touch. See Soldier making a touch on the inside and losing out to the rest of the pack as well. Any major loss rules, we see Begley has made a pretty big mistake and he's dropped down a couple seconds from the rest of the field. This map is another pretty technical map, so we'll see if how the players handle it. I believe that was Revo that dropped way down. Yes, it was Revo touching on the freewheel, and we know that is not a good idea. Nixo currently sitting in 13th position. Not the best drift, but not the worst. Currently 1 second back from 8th place, which is only 0.4 seconds back from the leader. So we'll ride along with Wosile, who's currently in 7th/8th, as he basically shares the position with Hydra. See Evon with a very slight lead over Cap, followed by Miquatro in 3rd. So pretty similar names, map to map at the top, but it's very, very close. And as we finish off our second lap. Still early days. Lots of room for mistakes. And just like that, Wosile completely bonks and proves my point. We'll drop all the way down into 15th position, courtesy of the very tight gap that he was trying to race in. Nixo still very much in touch with the leaders. Only 1.7 seconds back from first right now, as he tries to fight and catch up to Lincoln Snow. Good drift around the hole there. Gained more speed, I think, than Link. Was able to catch him a bit. Hydra has appeared into the scene after making a mistake from the front. Follow Nixo for the rest of this lap. We might see some slight mistakes going into the pole sector. Nice clean line through the dirt U-turn. And finally, the last pole identity here. Takes it full speed, no major issues. We do see, who was that? I believe that was Dofault? Yes, Dofault has made a massive blunder. He can't actually make the jump, the amount of speed that he has. And he is completely gone, barely making it that second time around. That moves Nixo up into 11th position. Take a look at the leaders here, as it's still very, very close. I was going to say the two Polish drivers are leading, but instead Evon decided to beat me to it and drop down into 4th. Now 3rd, as I believe that was Cap has made a mistake, yes. So quite clearly, if you are able to run nice and smoothly without any touches or mistakes, you can find yourself in the top position. As Otak is chasing down Mime for the lead. Still very close in the top 5. Rozzy sitting in 5th behind Miquatro and Evon. Miquatro definitely more inside than Evon in that pole line, but they're both able to make it through without any issues. Battle for the 8th position is incredibly tight, with Link on top of Snow, Hydra very close behind, and our dear friend Nixo still within reach, only about 1 second back from 8th position. As we see, NRGZ has made a mistake and has dropped into the Nixotica clutches. But this 8th position is definitely the most important one of this race right now. Players looking to bank those last points before they go into the multiplier round of map number 5. We see this nice dual French battle here going into the pole section on lap 5 of this map. Link has a massive blunder, and I'm surprised if he was even able to roll into the finish after that one. I thought he would have full stopped. Is able to make the jump, but he will be out of the fight. That bumps Nixo up to 10th place, just behind NRGZ. At the top, we see Otak has overtaken Mime for the lead. Evon quite close, only 2.2 back from Mime and 0.4 back from Otak. Take a quick look at the leaders as they end up finishing off this map here. Otak no, he takes a much wider entry into the dirt section there. I'm surprised that Mime didn't lose out because he did get a little bit of airtime. But the final pole sector, any issues? No, Otak will take first, Mime in second. See, Nixo goes for the risky triangle fin, but doesn't gain him anything. Ends up finishing in 10th position. Only, what was that, 3.5 seconds from first, so very tight battle amongst all the top 8. Unfortunately, Nixo wasn't able to capitalize with his consistent runs. So Mime banks himself another 24 points and currently sits 22 ahead of Otar. I think that was Nixo's PB. It may very well have been. I'm not sure how much he was able to practice the 6-lap runs. But that pace looked pretty strong overall, especially from the top runners. But here we go. We have Vertigo, probably the most intriguing map of the lot. Let's get into it. So just like the last map, the name of the game is Pipes. Except this time we're going to be driving on them instead of avoiding them. Most notably is this last pipe section here as our players are coming and driving through. You have to stick to it using the nice and handy reactor boost. So this map will be played in rounds mode. Players will be going for multipliers based on when they win. So the first round winner will gain ×2. Second through fourth round winners will also gain ×2, and then we'll go to ×3 for 5th and 6th. 7th will be ×4, and 8th will be ×5. So this is all about risking and getting first. As we go into Vertigo, will be the first round. It doesn't look like anyone is purposely throwing and avoiding these first rounds. So our dear friend will have to beat out 15 other players in this first round if he wants to get that ×2 multiplier. Great speed out of the first pull section. Going into the second one, all about the exit here as you go straight into a freewheel. Nixo gets pretty good exit. Keeps up with the pack overall, but we see Snow is currently leading Otak for the first spot. Taking a little bit of a risky, very good pipe section out of Nixo. Actually, it overtakes 2 people. He's going to have to do quite a bit if he wants to catch up to Snow and Otak. We'll move up to the front here. You see Snow making a mistake and actually clipping one of the trees. He immediately DNFs. Otak also immediately DNFs for reasons not entirely clear. And all of a sudden, Fegley is currently sitting in 2nd position. Fegley would absolutely love to be able to bank 2 points here. Or double points, I should say, not 2. But he has to keep up with Wosal into these last pipes. Very good entry on the corner. Almost falls off on the exit though, so he won't be able to get a very good run through this freewheel. He's really going to have to kind of full send this one. We see Nixo up into 3rd actually, as people have made plenty of mistakes in between him and the leaders. Oh, Fegley falls off. Will Wosile do the same? No, he won't. Nixo unfortunately will get second. Very brutal. Fegley's going for the ×5, yep. But that first round just proves how sort of random this map will be. And I think these double points are very much up in the air for any of the players. So we rolled straight into round number 2. Barely have time to breathe, actually. It was quite an interesting first round. Nixo dropping down just a bit, but not too much. Lines up for the pipe nice and early. Gets a lot of speed because of it. Oh, I think he just barely clipped the outside wall there. As we see player after player falling off. I think that was like 4 or 5 people all falling off at the first part. So brutal first pole section for about half the field. Oh, and Nixo makes a mistake. He will drop down quite a bit. Razi as well making a mistake. He was in third. I can barely even keep up with who's still alive at this point. Looks like Otak will decide to not lead as he messes up the tech turn. Mime as well. So unlike last round where we saw very few mistakes until towards the end, we see a ton of mistakes as Nixo actually finds himself he's in 7th now. Moving up to the top of the field, Razi is still in 3rd, so it's really just between Mikacho and Solja now. Mikacho taking an outside tree line, not entirely sure why, but he still retains the lead. Going into the last pole here, will either of them full send it? Looks like Soldier's going for it, does slip a bit. Not enough though. Mikacho will bank his ×2 multiplier and bump his 50 points up to 100. He gets a nice added 50. And then currently positions himself in first place over Wellstyle, who sits at 88. Round number 3. Clearly this map is going to be very eventful as it immediately starts out with Solja not making the first jump. Nixo very much in the thick of it here. It's a nice release timing and is able to make the landing pretty smooth. Gets a lot of speed. We see he usually gets quite a bit of speed through that pipe section. Clearly people are safing the entry, but he does lose out a bit on the double turn here and finds himself in 7th place. Currently about half a second back from the leader, that is Otak and or Hydra, as they are basically one car. We see Dofall making a very much a massive blunder. Oh, Nixo doesn't get a clean exit. I don't think he's probably going to be continuing this round. Yes, he is not. So he'll look to clear his head a bit as we go into the next rounds. Otak now with the biggest lead that we've seen going to the second lap. First 2 out of the all 3 rounds that we've seen. Mime is followed by Razi, and Energy Z is sort of in the mix, along with Avalon. But it looks like it's Otak's to lose. See the players actually going for that outside tree line, presumably to carry more speed before the freewheel. follow. Okay, just as I switch to Otak, he decides to completely throw himself, and Rozzy will bank the ×2. Wonderful. Rozzy will double his 52 and now put himself up into the top position. The speed-based decision. Yeah, I imagine they're going a bit wider, as the amount of speed that they carry would essentially put them right into the tree. But the differences are relatively minimal, so going into this next round, Nixo not with the best start, finds himself at the back of the pack, but not out of it yet. This is the 4th and final round of ×2 multiplier, as already quite a number of players are basically out of the mix. Yes, I don't think Soldier likes the start, at least not these last 2 rounds. He has had troubles with them twice. Nixo gets stuck on the inside of the pole, will not be able to continue on that one. That was an interesting line out of Evon. Can he make this jump? It's not really in the mix, but I still want to. Okay, he can. Are we seeing possibly some late maneuvers out of Evon, trying to practice some tricky lines? I kind of doubt it, but all good fun nonetheless. Mime currently leads NRG, Z, and Dofall in the final lap of this. Oh wow, Dofall way too inside, full on risking it. Energy Z and Hydra are able to capitalize on Mime taking the pole far too safe, and this is going to be an absolute tight battle going to the last couple bowls here. No major issues. Yes, Energy Z is able to hold off Hydra and Mime, and will double his 30 points. Not the biggest double, but he'll be happy to get a multiplier nonetheless. Only moves up into 9th with 60 points, but multiplier does guarantee that you gain more points than you would have. So now we are into the ×3 territory. The next 2 rounds will be for ×3 multiplier spots. And of course, as the longer we go, the more we are likely to lose fast players at the front, especially when everyone is running for those top spots. We see Nixo with a pretty good start this round, sitting in a 4th/6th position, although he does take that corner pretty safe and loses that a little bit. Pretty decent speed out of the freewheel. And a pretty decent pipe section. One thing we will say is it's now getting around time, since there's only 4 positions left and players seem to still be going full beans. We have to question, does Nixo need to risk more and able to capitalize, or can he still run the current pace that he's running? It looks like he's going to have to start pushing it a little bit more, which can be tricky, especially when if you make a mistake, you're going to be more tentative in order to avoid a mistake. Just like we saw out of Evon, Mime, and Hydra. So all of a sudden, Fegley is back up in the top spot, very much behind Otak. See if Otak doesn't throw it. Oh my goodness. Okay, he purposely threw it, I guess? He must have, yeah. So Edtuck purposely throws the ×3. I think he's going for the ×4 and ×5, and Feglu will say thank you and grab himself a ×3 anyway. So Feglu with 78 points, great step out of him. You see Dofal and Mime making mistakes very early on. And Nixo is currently in the top spot. So that last round was a perfect example of being in the mix can benefit you. However, if Otak is still running, and it's the last round up for grabs, you may struggle. He's not going to throw every round, right? So Nixo drops off immediately, DNFs. I think he might be struggling in terms of mental focus right now. But we watch as Otak yet again leads. If he didn't take the last ×3, I don't think he's going to take this ×3. I think he's going to go for the ×4 or the ×5. Which means Snow is in a perfect position to capitalize on that. Cap is pretty far back, so Snow really has to just play it safe for the most part, assuming Otak decides to throw yet again. Oh, well, okay. So Cap, no. So Evon is in the next position, assuming Otak yet again decides not to run. Follow him for the end here. It's taking pretty slowly. Yep. So Otak does not want a ×3, so Evon will take the ×3 instead. Grab himself 61 ×3. Nice healthy 122 points will bump him up into the first spot, finishing with 183. Very solid step out of Evon. So now we are into the ×4 and the ×5. I would be hard pressed to think that Otak will throw away a ×4, because the risk of making a mistake and losing on the ×5 is relatively great. Although we've seen him now 2 rounds in a row, very much ahead of the pack. So if he's feeling confident, he might just throw a ×4, but I'd be hard pressed to imagine he'll do that. Did he just fall off? No, he didn't. But Hydra and Soldier did. Nixo currently sitting in 8th position. Pretty easy entry there. He might have, since he was in DNF, he would have been in spectator mode. So it's entirely possible that he saw that a lot of people were making mistakes, or purposely not running. So he might be looking to bank on that a bit, as he overtakes both Otak and Revo. Otak has DNF, so he's really just full sending for the ×5 now. That is the risk that you take with throwing away the ×3 and ×2 opportunities. Nixo currently sitting in 3rd, pretty far back from Mime. And I'd be hard pressed to think that either one of the players in front of him will purposely throw away their points, their multiplier. Mime especially with 88, so 4 × 88 is going to be a massive boost. Quickly jump to the front here as Mime is actually looking off to hold off Dofalt. Dofalt takes a very risky end, but is not able to catch up, and Mime will bank on the 88 times 4. Huge point bump for him. Banking in 352 points. Absolutely massive. So the last round, a ×5 multiplier. Let's see how we do. Nixo currently sitting in 7th position with a pretty decent start. But we know the start isn't what matters, it's the pipe sections that matter. Otak out with an early lead. We see Dofalt and Revo both completely flying out. I don't imagine people will be DNFing per se. Oh, will Revo DNF'd? But I would think that players, since it's the last round, they're just going to stick with it, no matter what the outcome is. We see Solja completely flying off. Nixo with a good exit, catches up to Cap a bit. He's going to have to rely on 4 different mistakes, though, as we see Link lagging a little bit behind the pack of Otak, Snow, and Hydra. Fact of the matter is, ×5 will be a massive boost in points, even for Snow, who only has 37 going into this multiplier round. Hydra drops down a little bit. My goodness, he absolutely sent that. Otak has actually fallen off, so he's going to be kicking himself for passing up on those ×3s. And it's up to Snow and Hydra. Nixo down in 5th position, needs quite a few mistakes out of players in front of him. Hydra absolutely full sending this. And it looks like he's going to get it. Yes, indeed, he will grab the ×5 on his 61. So that'll be a +300 almost for Hydra, or +244. We'll sit him at 300. Sorry. Massive amount of points for Hydra. And that wraps up step number 2. Nixo not able to capitalize on a multiplier this time around. As we'll look at the overall. Can I look? No, I cannot look at the step ranking. I can only look at the overall ranking, unfortunately. Very unlucky. I'm sure he imagines he could have done much better, as we saw a couple mistakes. But we can bring him in for almost an immediate interview and see what he has to say. If he is up. He's clearly around, as he is resubbed to me, so thank you. Wow. Can I see? No, I cannot see the step ranking. Very unfortunate. I would have loved to look over at the final points before it just completely disappeared. But looking at the league ranking, we see that Mime has now had 2 very solid steps and sits almost 300 points in front of Hydra. Hydra's 300 points has boosted him all the way up into 2nd in the overall standings, bumping Otak and Evon down into 3rd and 4th. Looks like only Revolution is the player who has yet to finish in the top 8 on any map, as he only has 15 points to his name. And Nixo currently sits in 4th with 75, but just looking at the multipliers, it's all to play for these next few steps. So, see if he's around, has anything to comment on. Hello, there he is.
Oh man. 209 winning time on like a 3x multiplier. When I saw that, I was so mad.
Yeah, I don't know if you had seen in front of you, but there were quite a few times where Otek was well ahead and decided he didn't want times 3 multiplier,
Yeah.
um, which I had thought would happen last week, but not this week.
Yeah. I mean, it all started the mold all started on map 1 where I just like had a really, I don't know, just like bad pace, or like I just had a lot of very minor mistakes that just piled up. And then it didn't help that map 2 was barrel, which like I survived the first jump barely, but then it was like
Oh,
it was all downhill once I think I got to the end of the lap 1 and I had that flip, that final flip, my car just died mid-air
mm-hmm.
and I have no idea why. Like I guess I just like steered slightly too late or something, I don't know.
Yeah, I remember watching that and was very confused because the amount of um, rotation loss was almost instant, as opposed to, I mean, usually when you do
Yeah,
a air steer, it's a bit more gradual.
yeah, it looked like I had like air braked or something.
Yes,
Like,
exactly. It looked like you hit something, which was very confusing.
yeah, but then that I don't know. Luckily, I mean, I knew I was gonna be fine for the other two maps. I mean, it really pissed me off that I was point 0.3 away from top 8.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that it was gonna be a close battle on pole party, but like, I didn't imagine it would be that close. I mean, like, there was a single time I lost the gear on like the first dirt part, and I know for a fact that that loses between point 0.3 and point 0.4.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
it's just
pole party was actually ridiculous how tight it was.
yeah, and then I don't know. But yeah, then obviously I was starting to get so mad at myself on the last map, especially when I was seeing the times. Like I knew that I could consistently get like even a 208 safely, and then the fact that so many people got in with 208 or even a 209, I was just like, yeah, okay,
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Well, I have to imagine you weren't alone in that feeling, as there were a
Yeah.
lot of mistakes in people that seemed to uh, fall off onto the simplest issues, like Soldier, for example, failed twice on the very start jump, which is not
Mhm.
ideal. Um, so it's just a matter of keeping it mentally, obviously, which is much easier said than done, especially on a map like that.
Yeah, I mean, it really doesn't help. I think it always, mental is always the biggest thing. Like last time, I started off with a seventh, which was really nice, and
Mm-hmm.
then also my second map, I got seventh. So like that just gave me like a really good motivation. But then this one, like I really was just not confident after the first two maps, and that just yeah kind of kills it. So
Yep.
hopefully next step I can actually like, as much as it pains me, I'm gonna have to train on barrel. So that I can get top 8, or at least just not completely get weird reactions. You might have also seen the one thing that really pissed me off. Like, I don't know if you saw like in one of the transitions between between the laps on barrel. I like hit the in that one where you jump up right at the start and you hit the
The plastic.
plastic. I don't know if you were spectating me. I mean, I was in like dead last, but I hit it and I just flew, like skyrocketed into the sky, and I had no clue what caused that. But
Well,
yeah, I mean,
in my
uh,
very limited amount of playing that map, I had a very irregular sense to that section. So
yeah,
in a way,
it's
I'm not entirely surprised.
the whole map just feels irregular. I mean, I'm sure there's a strat somewhere to consistently do it, but in my training, I haven't been able to ever get consistent on it. So
Hmm.
something to do for next week.
Well, what do you think about map 5 in a 6 lap format?
Uh, what map 5? Sorry, you
Well,
cut out.
Vertigo, yeah.
Vertigo. I think I don't even know. I mean, like looking at the times, I think I have the pace if I just safe it, but like it's so hard to decide whether you should safe or risk when it comes to the two lapper. Like that was such a mental game
Mhm.
this week. So like I think next week I just should have a concrete plan. Try not to pay attention to the number on the back and just say, okay, I'm gonna go safe.
Mhm.
But if everyone does that and they manage to save faster than me, then it'll be kind of like Pool Party, where I'm just very slightly underpaced. I mean, I kind of realized that I needed to pick up the pace just slightly too late on Pool Party, because I mean, I think I was like 1 second behind going into lap 3, and then I was able to catch that up very slowly, but just not enough. So
Yep.
I think, yeah, I need to be able to be either confident in my pace or realize when it's time to pick up the pace. So
It's not easy either with the amount of players that you're playing against. It's not like you can just flip on cars and see there's one or two people
right,
behind you.
yeah,
There's so many, especially in the middle of the pack where people are.
yeah. I mean, I was turning cars on during Pool Party very often just to see how far ahead some people were, and like you could always see like there was someone just miles ahead after the first pole, because I mean you can risk it really hard and get some insane speed, but I just like somewhere around like I don't know the second or third, I started realizing I should have just saved. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, new strategy next week,
Mhm.
of course. Now I know at least what I have to do there, what I have to train on.
And you're not too many points back in the overall standings actually. So all it takes is one good step out of the what 8 that we have to um, work our way through. 6 remaining. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, looking at the rankings, what I have 75 points ahead of Default at 70. Fegley had a really good step today.
yeah, he was able to capitalize on a healthy times 3. So pulled in 78 out of this week.
Yeah,
I think he's at 80
that was
something now.
insane. Yep, he's at 88, sitting right between Sulja and Snow. But I mean, it's kind of, I mean, okay, so obviously I'd like to get top 8 in the overall standings. Right now, it's like there's a huge jump from 9th to 10th of about 50 points. So, I mean, Razi's sitting at 9th with 148, and then Energize at 10th with 94. I mean, I don't like I see all of the people who are around me as like kind of at a similar point level, right? Like because I mean, a few points means basically nothing in
Mhm.
this multiplayer format. But yeah, breaking through into the top 8 is going to be something that's going to require. Well, I mean, it's just going to require someone who's in like the 6th or maybe 5th through 9th area to just not get a multiplier next week, and then hopefully I capitalize on that. So
Yep, it's all to play for.
yeah, it's just it can go anyway, I guess.
Well, nice. I'm looking forward to seeing what the newest map will be. I'm sure it'll be revealed later today, as well as next week.
Yep.
Uh, although I just realized next week is the Halloween week, so I will be gone.
Yeah.
So I will have to watch over the cast out of somebody else. So if you're interested in following Nixo, be sure to watch the overall stream. That'll probably cover it the best. That's run by G Geek, and usually a guest, I think. He has a guest every week or something.
Yeah, I think it was SRK one week. I don't know what it is this week, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'm sure they have an interesting cast to watch as I am gone for Halloween festivities. But I'll be back for step number 4, so we can get nice and close and personal with our American friend here. But anywho, that will wrap up step number 2. I have been Snowman. This man here has been Nixo, and I hope you have enjoyed our journey. And we'll look to capitalize